Picture a sun-bleached frontier town. Dusty roads, quiet saloons, and a general expectation that nothing much is ever going to happen. It's the standard backdrop for a classic Western trope. That quiet baseline breaks the moment a body turns up face down near the train tracks. Initially, the evidence points to a straightforward frontier crime, a robbery gone bad. Jack Ellis stands back, a drifter watching the local authorities try to make sense of the scene. The story frames him as a detached observer, keeping us at a distance from his internal thoughts. But the details of the crime scene contradict the victim's history. Edward Hall was a known gambler with a reputation for being untouchable, yet he died without any signs of a struggle. Someone got the drop on him with total ease. Then we see the anomaly. Hall has a distinct geometric tribal-style symbol etched into the skin of his hand. That specific mark transforms the investigation into a targeted message. It leaves behind the random violence of the frontier for a crime with a specific, silent motive. A sudden murder does something specific to a small, isolated community. It forces buried secrets and underlying social frictions right to the surface. When Jack interacts with the local sheriff, the tension is immediate. The sheriff acts on instinct, quickly casting suspicion on the drifter, who seemingly has no ties to the town. This functions as a classic psychological defense mechanism. Small communities use disconnected outsiders as scapegoats to protect their own hidden truths from outside scrutiny. This diagram illustrates the structural shift happening in the narrative. The story moves from a broad town dynamic into an inward focus. The suspect pool shrinks from the entire town, narrows down to the victim, and finally pinpoints the investigator himself. The sheriff's suspicion points to a darker reality. Jack is already tied to this crime. His history with the law makes him the perfect candidate for a town looking to bury its own sins. To understand why, the narrative pulls back the curtain on Jack's history. He used to wear a deputy's badge in a neighboring jurisdiction, long before he became a quiet loner. His tenure in law enforcement ended after a catastrophic standoff with a local gang of outlaws. The botched exchange directly resulted in his partner's death. Hidden beneath that tragedy is a core secret, the covered-up deal. It was a past sin involving those exact outlaws that Jack actively buried to save his own reputation. Back in the present, Jack's investigation hits a wall, forcing him to dig through his own suppressed records, names of associates from his days as a deputy. In a faded ledger from the night his partner died, Jack finds Edward Hall's signature. Hall was the middleman in the very deal Jack allowed to happen. The tribal mark on Hall's hand is a mirror of the brand used by the gang Jack protected. It's a receipt for a debt left unpaid for a decade. The collision of these names and dates proves the murder is a psychological trap snapping shut around Jack. The identity of the shooter is a secondary concern. The murder occurred because Jack's past finally demanded payment. This reveals the core thesis of Whispers in the Dust. In this iteration of the frontier noir genre, formal justice handed down by sheriffs or courts is entirely superseded by the natural law of consequence. This timeline tracks the fatalistic nature of the genre, where buried sins function as an active, creeping antagonist. The paths of Jack's escape and Hall's gambling were destined to violently intersect here at the reckoning. Jack survives the physical investigation, but he is emotionally resigned. His voice shifts away from objective observation and turns into a purely subjective confession of guilt. In the frontier noir, there is no outrunning the weight of what you've done. You keep moving, or you become part of the dust.